Welcome to MuscleTV podcast. My name is Luke Schembri, and I'm joined once again by my good mate and fellow host, Scotty Goble. Scotty, how you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm very well, Luke, and I'm happy to be here talking to a man that I've followed for quite some time. I'll let you cue him in.
We have a very special guest. We have the man who has the greatest raw powerlifting combined total in Australia, 1,077.5 kilos, which is absolutely incredible. He's an accomplished kickboxer. He's had MMA fights. He's a father. He goes by the name of Alex Godley Strong. Simon, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thanks for having me, boys. Appreciate it.
No, it's great to have you on. And Alex, you are a large human being. Are we talking to the 140 or 180 kilo version of yourself today?
No, we're talking to the very anorexic 138 kilo Alex at the moment.
Oh, there we go. Hey, mate, I've always wanted to know, do you come from like this line of Greek Cypriot warriors who are, you know, sort of Goliath-like figures back in the day, or you're a large human?
Bro, you know what? There's no real big monsters in my family. I think I'm kind of like the one-off, but my bloodline in Greece is from Sparta, so maybe somewhere down the line, you know, there's a bit of Hercules blood in there. Who knows, bro?
Mate, let's run with it. That's fantastic. Let's just run with it.
I'll run with it. Yeah.
Now, mate, if we think about, you know, the activities that you've been doing, whether it's the powerlifting, the MMA, the kickboxing, I mean, they're all not only extremely difficult sports to be doing, but they carry a certain risk of injury, getting punched in the face, tearing a muscle off the bone or something like that. So where does this come from? Are you like a lifetime athlete, someone who has done this since you were young, or is this just something you've jumped into in your adult life?
Where it comes from was, bro, I was a big, fat, scared kid, and I just didn't want to be that, you know, as an adult, as you grow up anymore, you know. Had a little bit of bullying when I was young, and I didn't like it, so I kind of addressed that pretty quickly. And then I was always a rugby league player. I was fairly talented, but very lazy. So I didn't do anything with league because I was too lazy once you started making the rep teams and that. And then, bro, I was always, since I was young, even though I was a big boy, I was always very scared of conflict, you know, and like I didn't like it. And I just, you know, as I started becoming a teenager and, you know, not just sitting in the house and you start going out a bit more, I didn't want to feel vulnerable. So that's kind of when I started training and trying to, I guess, quite protect myself. So, yeah, I didn't want to feel scared and vulnerable, you know, as you start becoming a man. So kind of started from around that. You know, that's kind of the backstory a little bit.
So, Alex, what was the first sort of discipline you took up? Were you boxing, resistance training, kickboxing? What was the first thing you started with?
The first thing I started with was I went down just to the local PCYC with some of my mates I play footy with in the off season. They just said, you want to come down for a hit, just a bit of fitness? And I was like, oh, yeah, mad. So I think I was about 15 when we went down to the PCYC and just started, you know, hitting the bags, a little bit of like play sparring, stuff like that. So I kind of started with that when I was about, I think, 15.
And when did you get in the ring for the first time, for the first real fight?
A year later, when I was 16, I had one. It was kind of a last-minute thing. It was I wasn't planning on fighting. I was going to go up to Newcastle and corner a friend of mine in a MMA fight. And I was on the piss the night before with my mate, and the promoter called me up, and I was drunk at a train station, and the promoter called me up, and he goes, your friend says you're a big fella. I'm like, yep. He goes, do you want to fight tomorrow? I'm like, oh, not really. I'm kind of drunk, and I've got a broken knuckle. And he goes, well, look, mate, I was 16 at the time. He goes, look, mate, the other bloke's a teenager, and it's his first fight too. And, you know, a bit of peer pressure from my mates. They're like, do it. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. All right, let's do it. You know, and then I rocked up. I didn't want to rock up. My mates came pick me up the next day. We rocked up, and I was looking around the change room like who I'm going to fight. You know, I was real scared. And then they were all small fellas, and I seen this big adult Samoan, big afro, smashing pads. And my heart just sunk. You know, he was the only big guy, so I knew it was for me. And I was just like, oh, fuck. You know, luckily I got the win, but, you know, he was 30 years old and he had like 8 or 9 fights. So the promoter lied to me, just scumbag, you know what I mean? But that was my first fight in the ring.
That must have done worlds for the confidence as a 16-year-old fighting a fully fledged adult man. You must have walked away from that feeling pretty amazing.
Yeah, I was the sickest cunt in the Hills District for a few months after that. Yeah.
Good old Hills District, mate. I know it well.
Yeah,
I grew up
bro.
there as well.
Yeah, fucking oath.
And mate, would you say, like, a lot of people wouldn't expect you to be as fit as you are for your size? So even going back then in the early days, was your cardio fitness, was this something you really had to work at because of your size? Like, have you found it more difficult to reach that high level fitness required for stepping in the ring?
Well, I'm probably my own worst critic. I actually don't think I'm that fit. You know, my last boxing fight was for the New South Wales heavyweight boxing title, and I was pumping the cunt, but then after 3 rounds, my fitness just fucked up, and I just had my hands down for 3 rounds. But I was probably like 165 kilos then as well. I was eating ice cream every night. But I don't know, maybe just from the footy background, I guess, always a little bit. So for a super heavyweight, I would say I'm fit, you know. But maybe just from the footy background, I'd say, bro, you know, from a young age, always just that, you know, endurance, grit, grind it out, little breather, come back. I'd put it down to that, I would say.
And then going through your teenage years, you know, you had a bit of a mixed history. Scotty and I did a MuscleTV once on prison workouts, mate, but I'm sure you've done your fair share of them. How did that contribute to the person you are today? Like, how did that affect you going inside at a young age?
You know what, bro? Looking back now, like, I'm 32 years old now. I went in when I was 18. Looking back now, I don't regret it, like, because I was pretty stupid, bro. I was pretty naive, you know. And you hang around a few boys and you think you're like a cool cunt and shit. And I went in for something, you know. I did just over a year and I got out. Like, it took 3 years because I got on bail and I was on house arrest for like a year and a half. So it took about 3 years, but I only served like 15 months. But looking back now, I'm glad it happened when it did, because if it didn't, I reckon I would have gone in for something real bad. I was pretty dumb, and like, I didn't really understand what consequences were. I'll give you an example. When I got raided, I got arrested for 4 armed robberies, all on drug dealers. I wouldn't rip off a hard-working fella, you know what I mean? So I thought that was fair game, you know what I mean? But I got raided. I got arrested for 4 armed robberies on drug dealers. Firearms involved, all that shit. Serious charges, right? Looking at like real fucking jail time. Anyway, I was that fucking naive. I think it was a Wednesday, and I was meant to play my rugby league grand final on the Saturday. And they've arrested me. They're like, you're in big shit, mate, blah, blah, blah. And I go, look, am I going to be out of here by Saturday? Like, I got my footy grand final. You know what I mean? And they just looked at me like I was the dumbest cunt. But I was like, nah, it's all right. Like, I'll be out in a few days. I was just like, as long as I'm out by Saturday, 8 a.m. And they're like, you know, 3 years later. But I was like, oh, okay. I know what consequences are now. So, a bit naive, you know.
Is that when you got into the resistance training, with more intensity, I suppose?
Nah, bro. I started when I was 17 pumping weights. I really started getting into it when I was 17. One of the boys took me down to the gym for the first time, and I benched 180 for 2 reps, first ever gym session. And all the older boys were freaking out, and they were like, what the fuck? And that's where, like, it felt nice. So that's when I started getting the bug for the weights, you know?
That hurts me, Alex. I trained for well over 30 years. I would have always wanted a 180 bench, and I never even achieved it. So, and you did it on your first day.
I did it on my first day, but I had the big stomach too. I bet you didn't have that. So pros and cons, you know?
Yeah, even still.
Pros and cons, bro.
Mate, I remember you as an absolute lifting phenom. I was following you in the early days. I saw you lift at Pro Raw. I watched you live, or was it Big Dogs where you set that record? I was down there at Frankston. I watched you.
That was Big Dogs, 2017, long time ago.
Yeah,
You
and
were there.
I remember thinking, this guy's the future. Like, Australia is going to have the strongest man in the world. He's going to set all these powerlifting records. Look at his age. Look at his raw talent. Like, this is the fucking man.
Yeah.
And not long after that, you sort of moved away from powerlifting. How do you go from being so unbelievably good at something, because I've never been remotely close to where you were as a lifter in any aspect of life, and potentially move on to something new when you had, it appeared your destiny was to be the best powerlifter in the world?
Bro, honestly, I always loved fighting from a young age, and powerlifting, although that's very nice of, what you just described, I appreciate it. And I would, like, humbly have to agree with that. I think I had the potential to become the strongest dude in the world. But you know what? It wasn't, I liked it. I had the bug for it, but I didn't like how heavy and uncomfortable and how unhealthy I was. When I did big dogs, for example, when I did that prep, my wife at the time was pregnant, so I was having my first kid as well, and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at all. Every night I went to bed, I thought I was going to die. I couldn't breathe. I was 181 kilos. I was very unhealthy. You know what I mean? And it was just like anxiety before sleep every night. The head miles. One night I was exhausted. My wife told me, I didn't even remember this. My wife told me in the morning, I stood up in the middle of the night and I just pissed my pants on the floor. I didn't even remember. I was like sleepwalking. So just like, it was ugly being that big. And honestly, having a first son on the way, I didn't want to do it, bro. I didn't want to commit to being that unhealthy for like the next 5 years, whatever it would have take to got that number one in the world spot. Although, it would be nice, but to me, it wasn't worth it to me at the time. Plus, I always like played footy, did martial arts from when I was about, martial arts from 15, footy since I was 7. So I did like the feeling of being fit. When you're over 180 kilos, you lose that. So I was very uncomfortable. And I just honestly, I didn't want to put in that another 5 years of hard work and suffering for that record. When I started weights, my goal was to be the strongest man in Australia. I did that. So I was happy and content with that. So that's why I called it a day.
Yeah, amazing. And, mate, for our viewers at home that don't really have too much of an understanding when it comes to powerlifting, to do some of those individual lifts, they're phenomenal. But what's the warm-up process involved? Before you're doing your 400-kilo deadlift, as an example, what's the warm-up process specifically on the day of the competition?
Oh, it's pretty brutal. Okay, so I'll give you an example, right? My best squat I've ever done in competition was 435 kilos, right? Now, before I even touch an empty barbell, I'll be warming up for 1 hour, minimum, before I touch an empty barbell, and then sometimes you go to commercial gyms and you see the boys coming in after work and they start with a 20 on each side, 60 kilos, first set. Before I would touch an empty barbell, I would be warming up for 1 hour. So lots of mobility stuff, lots of core activation, lots of lower back, glute activation, warming up my shoulders because I was so big. I have to physically get them under the bar, which will take a long time. So all that stuff would usually take at least 1 hour, and then you start on the empty bar. I would probably do 3 sets on the empty bar. Then you start on one plate. I'd do 3 sets on one plate. 2 plates. I'd do 2 sets on one plate. Then once you hit that 3 plates, your body's really starting to get warm. Then you just start going rep, another plate, rep, another plate, rep, all the way up to your first set. So it's usually a 2-hour warm up before you're hitting decent weight.
Wow. And specifically just before you're going into the lift, are you someone who, really needs to psych up and picture your family being held hostage or something like that? Or are you more sort of a bit more relaxed and you're able to control those emotions? What motivates you directly before a lift?
Nah, when I was competing, I was very much an aggression lifter. I used to get scared of the weight. Like, I was like, fuck, it's going to break my spine or something. So I really had to, like, it's just what not everyone it works for. A lot of people can be calm and composed, but for me personally, I was a big aggression lifter. So I would always, in the gym, Bass would put on my song, usually Motorhead, something hard, heavy. As soon
Ace
as
of
I heard
Spades?
that, Yeah, bro. Born to raise hell, brotherhood of man, whatever. Something hectic. As soon as I heard that first drop, I'd stand up. I'd push my head against the wall, like, so I feel something. And then Bats would come over, boom, hit my back real hard. And that's when, you're seeing red, you're feeling it, and you commit to the lift. So I was a big time aggression lifter, and it worked for me.
Did you experience any injuries of significance in those powerlifting days, throwing around those ridiculous weights?
The only powerlifting injury I had, I tore my labrum front and back in my right shoulder. That was, I was trying to strict press 180 kilos, which, if anyone doesn't know, it's stand up, legs fully locked, and then you just do that without jerking it. So it's a strict shoulder press. I was trying to do 180 and it wasn't moving. So I got it to about there and it wasn't locking, and me being a bit stubborn, I was holding it. I was holding it, and then my shoulder just went and I was like, fuck, that hurt. And so that was my only real bad one, powerlifting. Most of my other big surgeries have all been from martial arts, actually.
Is that 2 biceps?
So I've done the shoulder doing powerlifting. I've done both biceps punching. I tore this dislocated during a fight to fight 2 rounds with no arm. I've done my ankle, but that was footy actually. So yeah, both biceps and left shoulder from martial arts.
Mate, I've seen you when you've done some of those injuries and you've been posting online just straight after the surgery. And I'm just being honest, you always take a very positive approach. I mean, sometimes I've even thought, far out, he's staying very positive through this. Is that genuine in the sense that, whatever will be, it's all part of the fun injuries? Or is it a deliberate tactic you have to ensure that you're going to go through the rehab, you're going to keep doing what you're doing?
After all my surgeries, I've always made a little point. So I get out of surgery and then not that day, I go home and rest because obviously you're drugged up. But the very next day, I always go to the gym. And, I'm always in a car, still heavily medicated, but I do something. Like if I'm in a sling, I'll do 1-arm dumbbells. I'll do biceps, fucking calves, whatever, something. Even though you shouldn't be, it's just a little like tactic for me mentally. Like, no, this isn't going to beat me. Fuck it, I'm gonna come back from this, But bro, like you have your moments, I've had a lot of surgeries, and you do a lot of head miles, but it's just one of those things. Like it's just something else to overcome. Like you can sit and cry and just say like, "Fuck, why me?" Blah blah blah. That doesn't really do you any good, I got dependents, I got people that rely on me, I got friends, like. You want to kind of just be positive and get on with it. Yep, it's happened. It's another setback. Fuck it. I'm going to get back to it. This won't beat me, And that's like with a lot of shit. Yeah, really. That's like jail. Like, yep, it's happened. Fuck it. We go through it. We move on. Surgeries, it's happened. We move on. I've been knocked out in a fight. Fuck it. It's happened. You move on. I got divorced. It was very messy. Like with kids, I don't wish that upon anyone. It happens. You just deal with it. You move on. It's just, like shit happens, and then it's just how you react to it. So that's what I think. I just try my best to be positive,
Do you credit your lifting and your martial arts for building this level of psychological resilience? Like you talked about being, a little bit insecure as a kid.
Yeah.
And obviously now you're powering through major life obstacles that would buckle other people. Like, do you attribute some of that to, what you've learned along the way with the battles with the weights and in the ring?
Yeah, you know what? I've never really thought about it like that, but absolutely, bro. Yeah, that's a great point. I never thought about it that way. But the daily mental struggles, of getting just through a hard, like challenging training session when you're like, fuck, is this going to break me? Fuck it, I'm just going to commit to it, Doing that for years and years and overcoming that and winning, and then the relief, the resilience, the proudness of yourself, all that shit. And just the determination to, all right, this is what we're doing, let's just get it done. So yeah, I would put it down to all the training over the years, or at least a massive part of it.
Where are you now with the fight game? Do you have fights coming up? Are you specialising in kickboxing? Are you in the MMA arena? Where are you looking to pursue it moving forward?
I'd really like to stick to MMA because it was a goal of mine years ago to make the UFC. I've wanted to do it since I was a kid, bro. You know, and it's just I've had a bad run, and it hasn't happened for me yet. But I'm a resilient person. I'm still young. I'm still capable, and I'm still going to try my best to pursue it, bro, and make it happen. So I'm dropping weight for that now. You know, I'm doing it gradually. I've ballooned in the past, and I felt shit after, but this time I'm dropping the weight gradually, which I feel good at. And I was meant to fight a few weeks ago, but the bloke put out 3 days' notice, which was a bit frustrating. But I think I'll be on July 5th, so in Sydney, MMA. So I'm definitely trying to stick to the MMA and give it another good crack, you know, while I'm still capable.
Do you have to make the UFC cutoff? Because I know it's 265, so just over 120. Do you have to make that sort of weight to be eligible to fight?
To be, so not to fight in Australia, you can just fight super heavyweight, which is kind of what I've done. But like for example, if I can win 3 fights this year or in the next, 9 months, which if I can get active, I'm hopeful to do. I'm sure I'll get in because I got a name and following. I got the contacts to get in, but then you got to make the 120 limit, you know. So that's why now I'm just trying to drop and just do it gradually. So, if things go my way, and I do get that call, it's not like hey, you got to drop 30 kilos in 8 weeks. It's only you got to drop 14 whatever, which is doable with a water cut.
And in terms of your sort of strengths within the MMA realm, because obviously it's a game of, stand-up, grappling, wrestling, everything like that, you're absolutely a terrifying striker from what I've seen. I haven't seen too much of the groundwork. Are you good at that, or is your game, wrestling defense? Don't go to the ground and then knock people out. I'm just intrigued.
Yeah, look, obviously anyone that's watched any of my fights or videos, I'm a banger, I'm a strongest cunt in Australia. I'm coming to fucking swing, So, yeah, I'm a power puncher. I'm very aggressive, but I'm trying to control it now because it hasn't always served me right in the past. But I've been working a lot on the wrestling in the background. But usually when I get in there, I just see a red, and I just start swinging. So I'm trying to work on that now. That's my next challenge, to calm my mind under pressure. But I look at it like this way. I got to kind of out wrestle the kickboxers and out kickbox the wrestlers, So with my strength, I am quite explosive as well. So usually if I get someone down, I don't think they're going to get up, Unless your name's Josh Saunders, who I train with, who's the best jiu-jitsu dude in Australia, I don't think you're getting up.
And tell us, Alex, switching gears a bit, what's the difference in your diet between a 180 kilo Alex Simon and a 120 kilo man stepping into the ring? What's the difference in the nutrition?
I can't tell you about the 120 kilo one. Maybe in, the next 9 to 12 months I could. But, bro, when I was 180, eating was mad. Like, it was fun, bro. I'm a big, can I swear or not?
Yes, swear.
I'm a big fat cunt. You know what I mean? And I love it. I love eating, bro. There's nothing that makes me happy.
What sort of calories are we talking, mate?
Over 10,000 a day, easily. Easily, bro. And all dirty. All dirty. Like what? Snacking. Well, I was full-time PTing at the time in the gym. So I was training clients, correcting their squats, sitting down, eating the, family block of Cadbury chocolate. Not the big block, the family one. That's just why I'm watching people squat, And then I'd get, 2 pizzas while I drove on the way home. And then my missus would make me dinner. And then I eat a full tub of ice cream, shit like that. It was mad. I love it. But now, obviously, I can't do that. So I just...
Well, give us a glimpse into your diet now. What's your diet look like now if you're attempting to cut weight and maybe get that lower body weight?
Lots of protein, not as much carbs, mainly carbs just before training. All right, for example, this morning, what's the time now? 12:40, lunchtime. All I've had was 3 eggs in the morning, half an avocado, and a protein shake with water. That's all I've had today. And then after this, I'll go get probably half a chicken and a fruit salad, and then I'll have a coffee, then I'll train. And then for dinner, it will be some kind of probably steak with a bit of light carbs or something, you know what I mean? So lots of leaner meats now, and I don't restrict anything. I try to stay away from the junk, But I just know that if I have one heavier meal, I'm going to eat lighter for the rest of the day or the next day. So I've been doing that for a while, and it seems to be working. And my energy is still pretty good while I train. So, you know, if my weight stops, I'll have to start, you know, probably weighing it, which I don't like to do, you know. But for now, it's still dropping, and I still feel pretty good. So I'll stick to that for now until it starts slowing down heavily, and then I'll have to reassess.
So you are intuitive eater where you're sort of looking at portion sizes with your eye rather than following any strict calorie and macro targets?
Yeah, like you know, usually I'll just have like a massive T-bone, and that will do me like for dinner, something like that, you know. But I know if I go somewhere and I've eaten too much, the next 2 meals I'm gonna make sure they're real light, you know. So yeah, I'm not weighing it, you know. I don't have that bodybuilder, you know, fucking mindset. I don't know how you do it, bro.
And what's the training look like at the moment? What's the breakdown between, you know, the striking, the grappling, conditioning work? Do you still lift frequently to maintain that level of power?
I would say the breakdown at the moment would be probably 70% MMA skill work across, you know, kickboxing, boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, probably 70% that, and then the other 30% weights and conditioning. So I might lift weights twice a week, real light.
What's real light for you? I think you might have to clarify real light for Alex Simons.
Yesterday I squatted 200 kilos for 10. That was it.
Yeah.
Like I walk full depth. I felt it keeps my knees. I got no ligament in my knee, so a little bit of muscle around there just, you know, keeps my joints healthy and happy. Stuff like that, you know. So, and now today I got kickboxing and then wrestling at night. So tomorrow I'll do one striking and one weights. So yeah, it changes on the days because I train with different trainers as well. But about 70% MMA, 30% weights and conditioning work.
Nice. What do you do for work around all that? Because that's a pretty full-on training regimen.
Yeah, I train twice a day. Bro, I got clients online because I was a strongman.
Yeah.
I got like a little following in the gym scene. So
Sure.
my main bread and butter, I do coach people online strength training. But that kind of just allows me to do what I got to do, like train, you know, pick up my kids. I drive 40 minutes to pick up my kids to school and back. I just had a doctor's appointment now, which was very late for my boy. Sorry for being late. And then I have sponsors also. So, you know, I have a few sponsors that, you know, give me money and keep me going. And then on the weekends, I don't have my kids. I also do private security.
Nice.
Very nice, very nice. And Alex, you mentioned a couple of times mindset, whether it was when you were doing time inside, coming back from injuries, or even potentially maybe regulating all of the excitement coming into the ring for a fight. Are you doing anything actively right now for that? Meditation, mindfulness, or is it just the overall mindset approach that I just need to tone things down before I sort of step into the ring?
So this is the last kind of part of my personal puzzle, which I haven't mastered yet, right? So like training, I'm double tick, you know, I'm good with training. I've got the discipline, you know, I was training every day in jail. After a surgery, I train. After I got divorced, I train straight away. I'm good with training. The mental stuff is the side I have struggled with, you know, but I am actively working on that now. So I'm trying to tick the boxes, i.e., I'm trying to journal every day. I want to write my thoughts down. You know what I mean? I'm trying to sit and do maybe 3 or 4 minutes of breath work, and then you just let your mind sit for a couple of minutes. You know, I know when I've done that stuff in the past, even after about 1 week, when you write down your thoughts every day, you journal, you do the breath work, you do the meditation, you do what you're grateful for, you say it in your head, you start feeling the momentum. And then, you know, something happens, you have a stressful, bad day, and you lose it, and you're just like, oh, fuck, it takes me 2 months to get back on the wagon again, you know? So I'm trying to stick with it now. And if I can master that, you know, doing the daily things for your mind, breath work, journaling, meditation, gratefulness, bro, I'll be fucking unstoppable in my opinion. So I'm working on it now.
On a totally unrelated topic, I hear other people say that, you know, big guys get tested when they go out. Like people want to, you know, sort of eye off the big guy and test themselves against him. I think there's probably a threshold of size and intimidation factor where that no longer happens, Alex. I can't imagine you're getting tested a whole lot.
Look, I don't drink alcohol, and it's for a reason. Yeah, bro. If I'm sober, I'm a very chill guy, right? If I'm sober and I'm out and some cunt's getting lippy, I can laugh it off, right? Like, I'm chilled as. I can laugh it off. It's all good. Like, just tap on the back. Yeah, you're a mad cunt. See you, bro. You know what I mean? If I'm drunk, I can't do that. You know, I'm saying something back. You know, and then I'm not. Yeah, I'd hate to go to jail again for fucking hitting some drunk cunt. You know, I'd hate that. So, yeah, that's one of the main reasons I don't drink, bro. Plus, I don't like the feeling. Plus, I don't like waking up feeling shit. Plus, I don't like losing control of my emotions. But you'd be surprised, you know, alcohol does strange things to people. So, yeah, it doesn't always happen. But especially because I like to avoid most of those situations that it would. But no, it still does, bro. It still does, you know.
Yes, obviously alcohol seriously decreases the IQ if people willing to have a crack at you, mate. That's unbelievable.
Mine's already low enough, you know, so I don't need it anyway.
Yeah. Do you I'm sure you don't, but it's funny because I see someone like you and it's just like, it's not intimidation, but it's just a physical presence. Like, it carries weight with it. Like, it really does. Like, to fellow men, to women, like, to be a alpha, you know, like a physically dominant sort of apex predator of a human. Do you understand that, or do you even acknowledge it, or you're probably just oblivious because it's just everyday life for you?
I think, look, I'm a little bit, as I just said, I've got a low IQ. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the smartest in the head. I kind of think I'm skinny now. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm like 6'3.5". You know, I'm 138 kilos. Like, I look in the mirror and I think like I look like a cancer patient. You know?
You don't walk down dark alleys by yourself anymore.
No, I'm terrified. No,
Yeah.
just kidding. But obviously, I'm a lot smaller than I used to be, so I think I got the body dysmorphia, like all big bodybuilders or powerlifters would. But no, I kind of forget, bro. You know, I forget what I look like. I'm a massive cunt covered in tattoos. Like, I do forget, you know. And then even sometimes, I don't, like, usually if people are walking down the street, I don't look at them. I'm just always in my own thing. But sometimes, bro, if I'm having a bad day, sometimes I'll just look at people in passing and people are like staring at me. And I go back to like that old mentality, like the jail thing, like, fuck's this cunt staring at? You know what I mean? But then I just remember, I'm like, wait a minute, you're the biggest cunt he's probably ever seen. Like, relax, bro. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck. So I get a little bit, you know, naive with it. I forget I'm a big thing like, whoa, look at that cunt, you know?
Oh, wow, amazing. Mate, one final one for me. Are you a Whole Foods man, supplements? Do you have any staples you pre-workout before you train? Creatine, whey protein, any of that?
Yeah, bro, I'm sponsored by Gentex. So Nick Jones, he's a good friend of mine. He's looked after me for a very long time. So I use all their Gentex products, and I have for about 8 years now, bro. And the main ones, protein powder every morning, just general whey protein. I like Nick's supplement, P2P, intra-workout. So that's actually my favorite one. Keeps me real, like, switched on mentally while I train. And then I take glutamine and a little bit of creatine as well.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome stuff, Alex. Mate, we really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything that you want to plug or promote while we've got you here?
No, bro, I'm good. Appreciate you guys inviting me on. And I used to watch this show when I was a kid, bro. I remember Luke. I forgot. Luke used to do it with Tony Doherty. I forgot what channel it was on. Was it Fuel TV or something?
Mate, it used to be on Aurora, and it was, you know, to this day, I still get people reaching out saying they used to watch it in jail on a Saturday, Aurora.
I watched it in jail. I watched it in jail as well. I remember I watched it when I was a kid. When I started training, I go, he's this big cunt. He's from Blacktown, whatever. I go, oh, yeah. And then I watched it in jail. So, no, it's just cool to be on there, you know, a little bit of, it's like, oh, I used to watch it when I was a kid. Now I'm on it. How weird.
Mate, thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate. How can people reach you if they want to do some online coaching or if they want to get in contact for collabs? How can they reach you?
Probably the best bet, you can email me, but a lot of it's spam. But I reckon the best bet, just DM me. You know, Godley Strong, that's my Instagram. So just DM me, you know. A lot of the time I don't respond because a lot of them, it looks like, you know, they got no idea what they're doing. But, you know, sometimes I do. So, yeah, send me a message on Instagram, Godley Strong.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, Alex. We really appreciate it. Maybe we can catch up with you after you have your fight. Was it in June or July, did you say?
It's set for July 5th.
Awesome. Maybe we can get you on after and have a bit of a chat, a bit of a wrap up. But look, if
Sounds good.
You do, thank you. If you do like this content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you put the notification bell on, you'll get notified when we drop a new episode. Thanks to Max's Protein Muscle TV podcast. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Scott. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, boys.
There's no cure for this.